I've only barely scratched the surface of the fashion and style within the fighting game genre, and to be honest, there's so much to get into, it's a little intimidating, but gotta start somewhere, and that somewhere is KOF. Hola, my name is X, and I like to experiment with fashion as well as talk about whatever the hell I want on social media whenever I feel like it, and in this video, we're going to step into the fighting arena and review some of the outfits from a large selection of characters within the King of Fighters series. The last time I reviewed fighting game character outfits was from the Guilty Gear series, so if you haven't had an opportunity, go ahead and check that video out. Just like in that video, I'm going to go through and review some of my top favorite character outfits from the KOF series, and in this case, that happens to be 67 total characters, which seems like a lot, but as I'll explain in a moment, that's only about half of the total characters within the KOF franchise. But before we dive into the review, I did want to cover some key context around the game. Developed by SNK, the King of Fighters debuted in 1994, and it was originally intended to be a crossover concept type game featuring a bunch of different fighters and characters across these different SNK games like The Art of Fighting, Akari Warriors, and Fatal Fury. What differentiates KOF from other fighting games is its unique team-based combat 3-on-3 kind of format. It really popularized that kind of fighting system and definitely added a nuanced strategic layer that only adds to the competitive rigor of the game. It goes without saying that King of Fighters has a diverse and extensive character roster, boasting upwards to, I think, 115 plus total characters. Mind you, that includes like accessory characters and antagonists, but still, that is really an impressive catalog of characters. And with so many different characters comes unique and complex storylines and relationships and dynamics and backstories, giving KOF a really rich lore that the fans obviously sink their teeth into and follow very dearly. And as I alluded to, KOF is big within the fighting game competitive landscape, obviously just with what it's contributed to the kind of genre and community and a whole bunch of different franchises. It's a staple within that esports category, I imagine. And as far as the fashion and style, similar to a lot of other fighting games with so many different characters, many different backstories, there's gonna be a huge mix of aesthetics and style archetypes. So we're having some cultural influence, we're having lots of practical looks, and we're having some really crazy otherworldly looks. And I think the KOF franchise does a great job of embodying the full spectrum of style and can even give some really realistic and tangible inspiration to fans or followers of the series. And I also love that with some of the characters comes some fashion and style evolution throughout the games. For the sake of this review, I'm just going to focus on some main key characteristic outfits of each of the characters. But there's even more to kind of unpack within DLC, I'm sure spin-off games, etc., etc. Cool, now that we've covered some of the context behind the game, let's quickly go over some loose rating system and structure that I have for this video. I've been having fun coming up with kind of clever ways to rate the looks in a way that's relevant to the concept of the media that we're looking at. So for KOF, we're gonna look at the looks as far as a basic attack, a super move, or a KO. A basic attack is a pretty standard, approachable, practical outfit, but really nothing out of the realm of maybe what we've seen before. A super move is a look that takes it a little further, one step up a notch in some regard, something a little more to work with a little more impact. And then a KO is obviously a look that elicits a wow. So if I say wow right off the bat, then that's pretty much a KO for me. So I'm curious to see how people feel about that. And like I was mentioning, I'm not focusing on multiple outfits per character or really getting too distracted. I'm really just focusing on the characters and their kind of signature outfits that stood out to me. I did, however, notice that most of the characters and outfits that I was gravitating to resided predominantly within KOF 15, 14, and Maximum Impact. So you'll notice that most of the imagery and the visuals for the characters and the outfits come from those games. All right, let's not wait any further. We have plenty of looks to get into, so let's get this review going. Starting with Leona, and I wanted to really go with her classic look because it's just so matchy-matchy and cute and encompasses really three main clothing items that I love and I think are staples, especially in a more practical outfit. This is a basic attack. I love the cropped jacket, I love the short shorts, and I love the boots, but I also like the little strand that goes between the jacket and the shorts. It's dimensional enough. Her other outfit, which is just like a bra and some camouflage cargo pants. I'm not the biggest fan of camouflage anyway. So just having, and I'm not really a fan of the color olive either, but a cute little matchy-match outfit with some coordinated socks and gloves, it works. Alice's outfit is so simple and obviously body confident, but what really gets me is the really cute coordination between the belt and the boots. I just think that the boots have a nice little black heel, and then the belt is so statement. It takes up so much space and real estate within kind of her upper body and her hips. And I do like that she has kind of like some reddish shorts underneath what is more of like a shirt dress. So it's kind of dimensional, very body confident. Would have liked maybe a little more around the neck instead of just kind of the straps, but it's also a little Y2K. So I'm kind of digging that. Alba is an absolute knockout. Whoa. Let's start with the belted jacket. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Top-notch style. It even has a nice kind of hardware belt buckle just to add to that luxury. I'm loving the kind of decorations or like fringe or bows or strands that are coming from the shoulders and the cuffs of the jacket. The jacket itself is obviously very exquisite with some matching red gloves and some chunkier kind of shoes, but you can really pull off chunkier shoes without them taking up too much and cheapening the look if you have some cool flair, which I love the zip flare, and it's definitely obviously giving high fashion and a little sporty twist with some matching glasses. Absolute KO. While I would typically give a kind of more relaxed street style look like this a basic attack, for some reason I like this version particularly in KOF 14 where Billy's rocking kind of like a little bit of a torn tank. And I just really like his signature bandana outside of a lot of what the other characters wear for headwear. And then the fact that there's like almost kind of a coordinated scarf around the leg. So that's why I'm giving this a super move. It's just giving us some extra accessorizing, especially for a rugged men's outfit at that. I just feel like the accessorizing is a little more than what we typically see. I'm really just loving the pop of the red tank underneath the blue jacket. Fio, I'm also giving a super move for a character that just seems a little more kind of modest and nerdy. And I don't always want to equate glasses to being nerdy, but she's also just kind of giving that vibe. Semi-body confident, but also kind of sporty look. Kind of gives also techie and like high utility. It's giving a lot of different elements. There's great dimension, there's cool texture, wonderful accessorizing, and I think what I like the most are the little red patches that really carry us through the full scope of the look. I've said this on other characters where if there's like a certain design element that really makes sure that we're kind of searching for it within the rest of the items, and in that journey we get to appreciate all the items along the way. Bandeiras' look is almost a little kind of typical fighter but there's some nice kind of print or emblem elements that really stand out to me. Design on the headband. I like how that's also kind of mirrored and echoed by the clouds in a complementary way, just in terms of the shape. And that roundedness also is a nice kind of contrast to what is otherwise obviously rugged, armored elements throughout the rest of the outfit. I just like a dangly belt. It has a great statement buckle. And when I look at the sleeves more abstractly, it just looks like a shrug. It's kind of stylish and it does give more fashion and not as much kind of armored fighting costume cosplay as I would have thought. I think Duo is a great example of combining some of that maybe traditionally cultural, stylized garment with something that feels still a bit more practical and modern. Like the overall top or cloak is just kind of giving traditional Asian fighter in some regard, but then the pants and the shoes give kind of modern business casual. When it leans to stylized traditional, which I think is beautiful, it doesn't really it doesn't scratch my fashion and style itch. But when we start to get a little more experimental, play with synthesis, play with hybrid, that's great. Color-wise, obviously, I love an all-black look, but just with the gold, red, and purple elements to pop against all that black, very luxurious. Duke's outfit is obviously very classy and stylish as well. A little plain and safe in that regard, but why I chose it as a favorite is really just the contrast color in the jacket. I love when one side of the jacket or garment or whatever is one color and then the other side is another. Just some kind of great visual play with clothing items. And I like that there's some kind of, it looks like embroidery or gold lining within some of the jacket as well. And that's mirrored in the cuff of the pants. Great little subtle coordinated details that make everything feel cohesive and like it serves an overall style purpose. Now, Kay is giving an overall just kind of uniform, standard monochrome look that I would typically feel like is pretty safe, pretty basic even, but this is a KO. I don't know what it is, maybe about all the different stitching throughout the outfit, or maybe it's just the clear leather texture of the garments. There's something that's just so badass, chic, polished, just so elite about the look. The energy radiates, talk about aura. I also love the necklace that he has, so there's just like a great display of some heavage and body confidence in that regard. That makes me just really want this outfit. I want to buy it. It's giving Diesel almost, honestly. I could see a Diesel model walking down a runway in this. Another knockout look from Jivatma. Wow. This is very JoJo. I think I really love a purple and white palette combination. There's something that obviously feels very elite, but also very fresh. And I also find it interesting when it's for like a villain or an antagonist. We have to talk about those gold buckled details that really cinch the waist and provide a really interesting silhouette, especially with the purple fabric layered and dimensional, kind of stemming from the hips. And I love how that buckle design is mirrored within the kind of calves, or I don't know if it's part of the boot. The horn knee pads are a bit strange, but when we just see those sharp elements reflected throughout the rest of the look as well, they don't feel out of place and they actually feel very native. Hinako's outfit overall feels a bit standard. I kind of wasn't sure if I even wanted to include it, to be honest, but I'm just gonna maybe say it's some purple bias. I love purple. And the beret is also just kind of a cute contrast to the black combat boots. And then the brown backpack almost would typically feel out of place. I've said how I don't necessarily like a black and brown neutral contrast. Maybe just stick to one, but it somehow feels like it really works here. Maybe it's just that subtle gold band around the bottom of the skirt of the dress. I don't know. Something here feels a little extra decorated and a little more experimental just with the mix and match of the accessories and the items. Lien is an absolute KO. I think what I wanted to say here was, I talked about in the Hellfire Gala how a lot of female outfits kind of did feature like the unitard one-piece bodysuit look, and it gave superhero, but there's just decorations throughout that gives it texture, doesn't make it feel flat and spandexy, getting all the cleavage we could ever ask for. I love that. And I do like the kind of subtle green and gold decorations, whether that's for utility as part of the outfit or just for some accessorizing. It definitely works and gives us some branch into some additional complementary color palettes along the yellow spectrum, just to not make this feel so two-dimensional with only black and yellow. Luise is, whoa, easily one of my top favorite outfits out of all the characters. Butterfly idea or concept or theme, but the black adds such a nice contrast to that to give it some more alternative edge that really is an interesting piece of duality in my opinion. And I love that there's this blue lining throughout the jacket, throughout the pants, and how that only mirrors that beautiful butterfly decoration that she has on her ears. And the belt, which is a great statement belt. And of course, love the body confidence. And I like that it's not just a bra, that we're kind of almost getting like a mesh silvery shirt over it. And then the silver decorations throughout are obviously exquisite. This is such an incredible look. I would say that Love's look could be a knockout, but it's more of a super move to me. Honestly, the pirate element is a little on the nose and kind of takes it out for me. I love how the hat coordinates and is match with everything. The boots, the gloves, the top. But I do love that the skirt is a different kind of glitter, almost seems like a glittery or a shimmery material, and is obviously lighter than the rest of the elements, just helping some of those lace kind of details and decorations in the top stand out a bit more. And I think that big statement gold buckle, like I've said, throw some gold on it, adds a nice touch of luxury that elevates this beyond something that feels really experimental and alternative. Mignon. This is a knockout. It's definitely kind of campy and cute, but there's just something so whimsical and fun and really is well coordinated, and I want to get into that piece. I really like the rounded elements of the outfit. I love when there's rounded versus sharp, and we're definitely getting some sharpness obviously in the vest, the undershirt, the tails that even fall down, but we're even getting some roundedness in the tail of the shirt to complement that, as well as the boots and the bulb on the boots, which really reflect and call back to her hairstyle really well with those rounded curls. Texture, silhouette, dimension, contrast, so many great things to unpack in this one. Meitenkun right off the bat reminds me of Sloth from Seven Deadly Sins. It's really a similar vibe. I think it's just really the pillow, but some of the kind of swirly, spirally, cloudy vibes from some of the print and design also correlates as well. I really like the shimmer of what was clearly a quality material. The blue palette is really dreamy, paired with the purple, I think, as well. Maybe that's what gives it some more of that kind of sleepy vibe. Overall, I think it's just the polish and the texture of the outfit for me. It just feels very soft, very comfortable, but also very elaborate as well, giving us, I think, some super. Ninon is definitely a strong super move. I feel like this is obviously out of the realm of what we see, which I think is what a lot of Lolita or Tome fashion does. It's out of the box, but it's very refreshing, very elaborate, and very stylish, especially in an all black format. You can't go wrong with that, almost kind of giving us a little bit of a gothic twist as well, but kind of like a nice, soft, fun gothic alternative twist. You really do have to look closely on this, but when you just look at all the textural elements like the ruffles, the lace, the patterns, even in an all black look, you can have some other elements come in to elevate it and give it some great foundation and strength. I debated on really even including Nelson, to be honest. A solid basic attack, more so because there's some nice kind of gold coordination between the shoes and the gloves. I like how that complements and pops and plays well with the blue and some of the more kind of neutral grayish elements. I think if it was maybe all white shorts or all just solid voided black, we might have lost some of that dimension, but there's just some enough subtle decoration here, a great display of body confidence, and I just think that vest is a cool statement piece within itself. Najd or just Najd, but I'm gonna go with Najd. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Absolute knockout. I love the mystery and the allure behind this look. A hooded look like this can typically just feel very on the nose, like assassin or even kind of dated time period. The gold belt, of course, that's always gonna kind of take us into another elevated realm. But I also love the color of the high exaggerated collar. It kind of almost opens it up a little bit more to give her some presence and stance. And I obviously love the color palette. Dark, but not too dark, and some black, purple, and red. That combination, especially just with given good foundation in black, can feel very elite, expensive, and opulent. Nagase's look is just so fun. It feels very super, and it almost reminds me of a Vocaloid, like Rin or Len. That's the vibes that I'm kind of getting from this look. I like the striped elements really carried through the whole entire look, whether it's the kind of like fur elements or it's the buckles and zips on the boots or the kind of leg accessories, striped without feeling, once again, too bumblebee. And I think it's because we have some other elements like the gray or even just textural elements to kind of break us out of that. And the brown boots are good here. I think it's the yellow and maybe the hairstyle giving the brown boots a little more context and placement. Ramon's outfit isn't really too crazy or wild. It's really the print doing the work. I think it's still basic as far as the clothing items used, but that print is really giving it a strong hit. I really love the leopard print elements. I think they're placed in just the right spots. And in this case, we're getting a good use of symmetry and just overall color coordination and coordinated set outfit. Someone could easily pick this up and look really strong, especially if they have the confidence and the energy just to kind of own the color palette and the print. And I think the eye patch is just also another stylistic design and touch that just gives us a little more edge and a little more punch. I also debated on whether I wanted to include Ralf. He actually has an alternative form called Armor Ralf, where it's similar, but there's just more of a lighter green palette and there's more matchy-match green camouflage elements that better resonate with me. But this one does feel a little dialed down, but I like the harness accessory, especially with the bullets in it. It's a great, cool, rugged, utility style look. And I think the mismatch between the color of the headband and the pants does really work in his favor in this regard. And as much as I don't really celebrate it, I do like a tank look. I think it's classic and timeless. It's working, it's well accessorized, it fits his character well. Robert is also another kind of outfit that I feel like is pretty standard. Somehow I feel like he pulls it off just with a little extra suave and swagger. That might just be the hairstyle, the power of hair sometimes, even it surprises me. I don't mind, once again, that the brown shoes aren't really matchy-match with the black gloves and vest. It does give a good full spectrum of neutral colors, from even including blue, which could be pretty standard and neutral. And that's why this makes a very good, solid, practical, basic attack. You can keep spamming looks like this back to back to back, just to kind of show that you have a consistent style or aesthetic. And over time, that makes a big enough impact within itself. Shingo, and I don't know if it's just the energy in which the character is depicted, but this look just feels so sporty, so youthful, so energetic, so fun. It's really not out of the box. It's, of course, pretty basic, but I think that there's enough kind of personality and pop of color within the jacket and the shoes. And I think what tops it off is really just the gloves. They're an interesting contrast to that white and how that pops within the rest of the outfit. But the gold detail and elements is what kind of just gives it a bit more of an interesting contrast to the rest of the outfit as well. So we could look at the outfit as like, oh, that's a cool, basic, sporty outfit, but just with some accessorizing that gives it a little more edge and personality. Yamazaki is giving great presence and silhouette and structure with this outfit. You can never go wrong with a standard black, but really taking it further with a luxurious jacket such as that. So the jacket's definitely giving it that super move technique. And I like that the jacket coordinates with the shoes. If the shoes were just black, that would have, I think the jacket still could have carried it, but just with some white shoes to give it a bit more partnership or placement within the outfit. And of course the texture, the whole lining or trim of the jacket is just a great touch as well, only further adding to the magnitude of the look. Shun'ei's look, I think, is my absolute top favorite look. There's just so much going on here that is so unique. This screams Tokyo street fashion to me. It's also a bit futuristic. I just love the jacket and how it hangs over the shoulders. I've said this before, but I also like that we're kind of getting some ruggedness in the jeans, especially with one leg being rolled up, but some of that more formal polished touch just with a more buttoned up shirt. And I'm loving all the different color elements. There's no clash, even though we're getting a good spectrum of colors, from some green in the hair to some blue in the jacket and red and purple. They're rich enough tone to where they don't feel like they're all screaming at you. And I really just like the boots in general, and that red buckle. Those are unique boots. I would love to get a pair of those. Sylvie is a maximalist queen. Like, let's just give her the KO. Look at all the effort and thought. And I mean, I imagine how long it took to get dressed in this. People, I think, sometimes look at outfits like this and are like, whoa, that's like a mess. Just threw everything on. Isn't like that once you actually take a look. I'm loving those kind of starry, glowy elements. It really just amplifies this to such a stellar level quite literally. There's not too much print going on to where I feel like we're battling with accessories, prints, layers. Like the color palette feels contained and deliberate. The accessorizing is intentional and well coordinated, and there's just enough kind of print elements to kind of give us some variation and enough to unpack. I love Soiree's coordinated teal look. The color palette is so refreshing. It's not something I would have expected, especially in the style of what feels like a bit of a Western kind of look. I really like the large X stitching going across the side of the pants and the fringe across just the bottom of the vest. And the vest looks like it has some exaggerated sleeves or exaggerated back. Kind of wish I could have rotated the character in this regard. And I also like that seems like there's a little bit of fringe or maybe something coming from the gloves as well. The belt buckle, it's such a fun, progressive, innovative twist on the Western kind of style. So Ángel kind of gets a bit of a bias against her, in my opinion, because she looks a lot like Ivy to me from the Soul Calibur series. And I think Ivy did this whole body confident situation better. And I also don't like when women are just depicted in just panties or thongs. I love seeing the female body in like great, cool, confident outfits, but at least give me like some shorts or something. You know what I mean? That's my big gripe with regard to these things. But regardless, I think that this is a super move. Love the crop jacket, getting all the cleavage we could ever want. And I think that even though it's kind of like a chap style pant, it is an interesting play on Western as well, especially when we look at those really cool boots. The boots are doing a lot of hard work here. Now, this is the kind of body confidence I like to see. The full body suit is also kind of giving a little bit of the chaps, but we're getting more body coverage and it feels not as lazy, like just throwing panties on her. I love the flair and the movement of the different decorative elements on it, especially when her character moves around. Even though she really is just wearing, I think, panties under this, at least there's this interesting, cool brown belt kind of design in the front. And I think overall, the color palette just feels tropical light and refreshing. A great silhouette and plenty of texture, so pretty super to me. I wanted to cover Kyo, Rock, and Yashiro together because I feel like their outfits are pretty similar. Semi-Americana, but with that kind of Japanese twist that we've talked about with regard to Yu Yu Hakusho. And it's just like a bikerish kind of or bomber style jacket, some pants and some boots. As far as who wore it better, I think that Yashiro is giving a stronger look in this regard. We're getting some body confidence. I like the different textural elements on the jacket. So I feel like the jacket's a bit more statement outside of just the quality leather texture. And I think just with a interplay between red and white is a bit more inviting and refreshing and doesn't feel as on the nose as like black and red or just all black and maybe some blue jean in general. So I would say that his is a super move. Rocks with the print and the cropped dimension of the jacket. It's a bit more playful and a bit more statement as well, even though the rest of the outfit is pretty basic and not out of the realm of what we typically see. The jacket, I think, is putting in enough work to elevate the outfit, but not quite enough to a super move. I still think it's a basic attack, just like I think Kyo's is a basic attack, but a very tried and true timeless one. We've seen this aesthetic before. I do really like some of the extra zipper details on the jacket, especially around the sleeve. That's a nice touch. Xiao Lon, wow. Like, I don't know why I'm getting like human form Pokemon vibe from this, like a grass type or even like a grass type fairy, but I just think that this look is so majestic. It's again giving us some of that kind of traditional cultural design and element, but it feels like there's such an innovative twist and almost like a modern touch, just with it like being like a pantsuit and those red heels. It just all complements each other really well as far as color palette without feeling too Christmassy with it kind of being like red and greenish. The gold detailing is obviously exquisite, and I think the dramatic flair of the pants and those white sleeves only complements the nice slim cinched waist and silhouette that we're getting, just giving a really cool form to the outfit. At first glance, Whip isn't really giving anything like, whoa. I actually will give it a basic attack because this is like a uniform, but It's a belted jacket, which I've talked about several times. And I think what does it for me is the type of boot. I'm glad that it's a bit more of a heel that adds a little more of a chic, kind of classier touch to the look and doesn't make it feel so flat and too rugged. And I like that there's like the gold bands or buckles around the thigh and the arm for a little asymmetry as well. And it just calls us into the buckle of the belt. So again, some gold design elements that bring us from the top, middle, bottom, very well coordinated. Come through Vanessa, super stylish, but the stripes give it so much personality, and I love the different shades of like a purple. It's definitely within the purple family. This is now a trend where there's like a neutral brown shoe, but there's like black accessories. I usually think that's a clash, but it is done so well across these characters. I obviously love the cropped top and a little bit of that lace detail that we're getting on some parts of it. And then the red tie is just a nice extra accessorized touch, especially how it's like clipped to the shirt as well. That just feels very put together and buttoned up. And yeah, those little suspender elements. Oh, I love the suspender element across a few different characters. I'm gonna comment, but this is done really cute here, especially when it's done like underneath the shirt somehow. It just gives more of that dimension. I typically don't usually go for full armor suit characters. It's just kind of like, we've seen this before, what else are you giving us? But it's really small, a little credit, not super, I'm gonna give it basic, but just the lights that roll through the suit, it's really cool. It is catch my eye. It does kind of make me look at the full span of the suit from top to bottom or bottom to top. So nothing out of the realm of what we've seen in this type of like gear or uniform. So it's a basic attack, but a really strong, cool basic attack. Isla K.O. What? Like, this is some futuristic cyberpunk tech wear. It's not really tech wear, but it feels like it. It just feels futuristic. I just love this. The mismatched socks are just so fashion and style. Love the oversized jacket and how that is such a nice complementary element to what is really just simple clothes that she's wearing. I love that it's shorts and she's not just wearing panties. The kind of cool ripped shirt, or what seems like a ripped shirt with some cutout, giving great body confidence. And the jacket has some cool kind of black bands or belts that are hanging from it. Paint splatter effect that's also mirrored in the hat. It's like edgy, sporty, futuristic, cool. So fascinating to me. I want to talk about Geese and Oswald together. Oswald was a character that I wasn't sure if I was going to include, but I managed to find a render of him somehow. So I was like, let's go ahead and go with it. And Geese isn't typically dressed like this, I don't believe, from what I noticed. This is, I think, one of the few first appearances of him wearing a suit. So I just really wanted to highlight that suits are great. We love a full suit. What's interesting here as well is to highlight the nuance in how a suit could be worn. I like Oswald's yellow and red pop against the suit. That's a really nice touch. And then I like that Geese's suit is so aggressively black but has a nice red tie to pop. So you're really leaning on those shirts and ties within a suited look to do a lot of the character driving for you. Their silhouettes are well complemented in each of their suits accordingly. Hydern is another kind of character style outfit that I wouldn't typically go for. It's a combat uniform thing, aesthetic situation going on here, but I like the decorations throughout. I think when there's a lot of like leg belts or bands or something, or just extra accessories, it kind of gives it so much more personality within itself. I do like the red of the inside of the hands of the gloves. It's a small detail, but it does kind of go a long way to break us out of what could have been a really flat blue and yellowish kind of look. I like the eye patch, I like the hat. So it just feels like more of an elite soldier combat uniform that I don't always see. Even though I love how elaborate, chic, and polished Elisabeth's outfit is, I would typically give something like this a super, but I've just seen so much of this style, and the color palette is a little tame for me. I would have liked some differentiation in some of the blue, but I do love the boots. I love the leg garters or like suspender type situation. And I like the vest or corset, and of course the gold elements throughout that pop nicely against the blue. And I really do appreciate the kind of more purple necktie or ruffle. I think I would have liked to see more of that kind of color play permeated through the rest of the outfit. Dolores? Whoa! know. Honestly, like when I first saw this, I was like, holy crap. Especially just a darker skin character, love right off the bat. But especially when they're like well dressed, like you just know they're going to take it. And I love the black and gold going on here. But I also just love the kind of dimensional stacked layered effect of the ruffles within the sleeves and just how that's echoed perfectly within the flare of the pants. And I obviously love the body confidence, but I love that she has some sort of like tattoo or decoration just to fill in some of that void so it's not just skin coming at you bare. And of course the accessorizing is excellent. And what's also kind of cool is there's some purple within her cornrows, but then there's also like some purple within the lining of the sleeves. Honestly, Darlene's kind of a knockout too. I wasn't sure if I thought this was like more of a super, but I think what takes it all the way for me outside of the incredible body confidence is I love the crazy accessorizing that's going on here. We're getting sashes, bangles, bracelets, gloves, beads, shells, cloth. We're just getting everything. And even though a lot of the accessories are brown and kind of gives this a more neutral rooted look, that only helps the different pop of color throughout all the different accessories shine and thrive. And it's plenty of design elements to bring us throughout the full course of the outfit. I think it's also a really good mix between rugged, tough, but also plenty of feminine with her incredible figure shining through. I think Chizuru also comes in with something a bit more super for something that feels very relaxed and kind of clean. I feel like this is also one of those good blends between something that does feel a bit more cultural and stylized and classic with something that feels a bit more modern with the pants and the shoes. Elegant female fighter top with kind of 2000s business casual at the bottom, just with the capris and the heeled boots. The belt is subtle but well placed enough and brings us into the bottom of the outfit, which just brings that simple coordination. A little basic, but I think just the flow and the color and the sharpness of the outfit is pretty super. I think Chris is also surprisingly super for how simple this outfit is, but there's just those subtle design details that brings us out of the regular. I like that the tee is a little asymmetrical shoulder wise, where it's a little hanging off on one end, but then it's almost like a cutout in the shoulder. And I don't always typically like shoulder cutouts, but just the fact that it's not both sides of the shirt, and the dimensional play with a large wide scooped neck that lets that kind of undershirt peek through. And I like suspenders hanging off. I mentioned the suspenders, and I used to do the suspenders hanging off thing all the time through high school and college. So I love to see that thriving within KOF. Simple, clean, quality street style that feels super and impactful. What really stood out to me in Mary's look was that large statement leather brown belt. I just think it's such an interesting kind of contrast or standout from the rest of the red, white, and blue going on in the outfit. The outfit's pretty standard from there, a great display of body confidence and some matchy match with the pants and the gloves. But that belt, I think, is really what cinches the honestly super move in this case. If you just have a really strong, sturdy belt that has a unique structure within itself, that's enough to pull through. And I just like that there's this kind of star emblem in the pants that coordinates with the shoes, a little bit of white in the top. Clean and simple, but well coordinated. Iori is another male character coming through with a very interesting statement jacket that just adds so much presence and suave and statement to his outfit. I also love that the lapels of the jacket are almost like that kind of burgundy or wine kind of color and almost have like a velvety texture. Like that kind of red tone's a bit darker than the red pants. If it was all that bright red, it might have taken away from a little bit of the edge of the outfit. I like the loose, lazy belt around the waist, even some of the thighs. I don't know if it's like part of the jacket, but it's just kind of a lazy accessory that just feels so effortlessly cool. And then just some simple, cool accessorizing to cover the chest, even though we get a nice little peek of body confidence there too. Super suave for a KO. I honestly think Jeanette's look is also a KO, and I've been harping on the extent of the female body confidence in these outfits, but I just love the long, dramatic kind of one side of the dress or skirt that she has within her look. It is a great display of body confidence, but also gives some interesting form and silhouette and movement within her outfit. And I think the color palette is really strong here too. An interesting lining of the garment, but staying within the kind of red and purple color palette feels kind of unique and novel too. While fingerless gloves can often feel a little kind of cliche and on the nose, I just like the color of them, and just with such an absence of fabric in the upper body in general, it does add a little bit of extra stylistic touch just to give us some more cover up and coordination with the rest of the outfit. I was kind of digging Athena's look from 14, but I think the 15 edition is so much more fashion and so much more interesting. I like the kind of dangly elements and just kind of the loose ruffled nature of the undershirt as well as the top that she's wearing. I think this is also a great blend between some of that traditional cultural style and aesthetic with something a bit more modern and statement. I love the boots, and I like that they coordinate perfectly with the gloves and how they're a different color than the top. And there's, of course, as always, some great gold detailing and elements within just to further elevate. And I also like that the headband matches the top as well. So there's kind of like some great dual coordination going on here. I saw someone else with the opinion that Ash's outfit before was better than this one. I will say that there was a much more cool alternative street bad edge to the outfit that Ash had previously, and there's also cool dimension just like with the crop nature of the jacket and some of the flame elements. But I feel like this one's just more elegant and chic and honestly more high fashion. Sometimes that flame design and pattern can kind of deviate, but having kind of like a weird gradient or just kind of contrasted effect between the blue and the red is kind of a subtle but striking design element here that gives it a super touch. And of course, I like some of that fur around the neck and how that just kind of calls back and coordinates with the boots. I debated on whether to include Antonov's outfit in general. It's kind of, I think, a lot of great body confidence, but really nothing striking outside of maybe that big wrestler belt. But it is kind of giving chic high fashion wrestler in a way. I think the hat in this case is what did it for me. It's a little silly, but also it just helps top off a lot of great white accessorizing throughout to kind of make this feel like a cohesive piece. I also liked the pink color variation of this outfit as well. I don't know, just like with the armbands and the cuffs and bracers and just like the pants, it's an interesting contrast to what could otherwise be a really sporty on the nose wrestler outfit. So it kind of works for a basic move though. Andy was a character where the garments were kind of giving typical martial arts, like a lot of the other characters, that really wasn't resonating as a favorite. And I was just saying how sometimes flame design can kind of take away from a look, but in this case, it adds a lot of intrigue. It really needed a cool print like this to take a martial arts look to a slightly different level. I just think that the colors play well. I haven't often seen a red, white, and blue and black combination quite like this. So I think that that alone is just really interesting to look at. We have some great kind of stitching or binding towards the side of the garment that just adds some interesting texture and dimension as well. Hein's look is pretty basic for the context in which we would evaluate a look like this. Formal, polished. It's kind of giving Black Butler, which I think is where this bias comes through for just appreciating a really solid, polished, put together three-piece suit look. I really like the bow tie scarf. It's not so on the nose typical showy bow tie. It's much more classic, lightweight, and elegant. And I think I really just like the cuff of the jacket. It's large. It adds a little bit of, I think, some texture or dimension, at least as far as the sleeves at minimum. And there's just some nice silver decoration there just to give it that extra kind of polish. I could have covered the Orochi characters as well, but I wanted to focus on Gonitz because I feel like they have that central kind of like black cloak with gold elements situation going on, which I think works very well here. His overall outfit reminds me of Pucci from JoJo, just with like the long, luxurious, almost kind of formal looking gown. I really love in this case that blue color is really refreshing and captivating. It's just so rich and sapphire-esque. And I love the brown belt details in this case. Another example of how the brown and the black accessorizing actually is cohesive. I love the big brown one around the waist just for some great silhouette. And I love the little brown bands around the wrist just to give the sleeves some shape and character as well. I'm really gonna have to give Shermie a knockout here. I love the exaggerated silhouette that she has in general and just how well the clothes further accentuate and really celebrate that. But for me, it's really that jacket and that pink fur detail. Love the cropped jacket, love the fur around the collar and the sleeves, but how that really works perfectly within the top of the boots as well. It's really such a simple set of clothing pieces, something that you would kind of see every day, but just the way that it comes to life on the body of the character and how cohesive and effortless the pieces are just gives so much charisma that I'm personally knocked out. I wanted to talk about Mature and Vice together since they're pretty much wearing the same thing. They also have variations where they're wearing more of like a skirt with this outfit, but I really like the pant look because I feel like it just gives them each a bit more authority and stance and dominance with their outfits. I really love the vest over the ruffled shirt and how the sleeves also have a bit of that ruffle effect as well. It just gives, again, more texture and dimension and great layering as well. And the sleeve cutouts here are also very elegant and perfectly done. Rounds out some great upper body confidence in general, just especially with some great cleavage action with some nice delicate accessories that give this a nice chic touch. Cronin's look is so freaking cool. This is obviously a super move. I really like the street style aesthetic as well going on, but there's something about that red cloak, tattered, deconstructed kind of element that is a nice extra rugged edge and gives it that luxurious color touch to not make it feel too street. It's weird how that kind of works. You would think that something tattered like that would also just further add to, I think, of a worn rugged look, but it somehow elevates it with the glasses. It just gives some differentiation in color, which maybe that's the fashion piece that takes it out of being too basic. I think I really also just like the boots. The number of buckles on it is really cool. Chrysalid's outfit is crazy. Like, this is an absolute knockout. I'm obviously biased towards the overall purple color palette, and even underneath this coat, there's like this cool like black harness situation throughout the whole upper body, even around the crotch, which I think is really interesting and really JoJo. But this jacket is absolutely killer, giving us another great silhouette, but those fur elements on the shoulders and like probably around the back is crazy. The belt buckle details and all the silver kind of hardware accessorizing as well is wild. So much great texture going on, so much just kind of great binding and shape to not make it also feel too flat. I love everything about this. Mo's look almost slipped through because I wasn't sure if I could find a proper render to kind of fit the overall theme of what I'm working with here for the visuals. I just love all of the mismatch going on. This feels very today. This almost feels even pretty 90s, which is really cool too. I mean, obviously it feels 90s, but like it doesn't feel too out of the realm of like futuristic. The colors are also a really great play, and there's a good mix of patterns too. And it's almost like sporty kind of undershorts, which is great. I'm glad, especially for a character like this, but how that's contrasted with like the more preppy plaid, but then also a really body confident, cute tee that I think just gives more of that kind of everyday laid back cool girl vibe. Now, Mignon's look follows something much more culturally traditional, and it really honestly is a costume, but I just think with how elaborate it is and just so much detail and decoration involved, like it has to be celebrated, especially when you see the character move in the costume. It just really helps the energy of the outfit come to life, and it just does feel very exquisite, very well disciplined and put together. I'm really liking all of the different elements going on, surprisingly for something so stylized. I think what gives Luong some credit with me, I love a black stocking, and the way it's done here is actually really mature. For the character, she almost kind of reminds me of Beidou from Genshin Impact a little bit, because it's the same style gown, and this one's a bit shorter and sassier, but it's just with the sheer leggings that just add enough cover up to not make it feel like she's full skin coming at us. but also enough kind of chicness to elevate it and give it a little bit more of that fashion twist without even really having to try that hard. So effortless always gets some good credit. Not saying it's anything too super. I do love the color palette and some of the extra decorations and like tassels throughout, but it does feel pretty basic just given what it's stylized after, just with enough of a twist to give it a solid kick. As much as I want to give Kula Queen KO, I do feel like this is just a really super move, cute suit. I really like the gloves and how they match perfectly with the boots. And I do like how the top kind of splits out in the front to kind of give a little bit of dimension and a little bit of a frame around the back and the waist. It just feels very futuristic. I think I saw someone say that she's giving C2 vibes. Absolutely. It's just kind of fun, futuristic, sleek, sporty. And I like that her outfit's completely covered up. We don't always need skin out, sexy, sassy characters. We can get sassy within the realm of a really solid, put together, coordinated suit as well. I think Kensu's outfit is so interesting. I almost feel like there's some of that gold detailing in the pants, and just with how he kind of has a stance that feels a little culturally influenced or culturally inspired, but overall it is a really cool laid back outfit. I like that the lining of the hood ties to the yellow details in the laces of the shoes, and I like that the sleeves and the shirt kind of coordinates with the pants as well. It really just helps the vest and those pants stand out even more, especially just with some slight contrast in color choice. It's like an elevated street style look. I don't think it's quite super enough, so it's a cool attack. Nako also feels culturally inspired, but not too on the nose, and I really like the overall white color palette just with the complementary blue and orange details with some neutral elements and accessories sprinkled in. Another great, amazing statement brown belt around the waist just to give this some perfect silhouette and shape. And I do like how some of the top falls out for a tail, almost like a skirt around the back. And the shoes are just like really cute. They add a nice little extra touch of texture and shape to add a lot of value to the outfit. Well, it feels pretty standard for the general style that it's part of. I do feel like it's just pretty super with the dimension, shape, and overall presentation of the look. Terry is one of those classic characters that I identify out of the franchise, which I think just speaks to the nature of his outfit and how it's pretty signature at this point. Obviously love the sleeveless vest. It's almost like a red sleeveless vest, which is really cool, really badass. And of course, just the rest of the fitted clothing is a nice touch. The shoes match the vest and the shoes match the hat. It's one of those straightforward, clean, coordinated looks that you can't go wrong with. Sporty, but edgy street at the same time. A solid, staple, basic attack. In editing this nearly hour-long video, I realized there's 3 characters I forgot to cover, so let's just quickly take care of that. First, we have Benimaru. I love his style. It's very much in line with kind of my personal taste. I did kind of like one of his previous outfits that was a bit more of a crop top and a bit more of like a classier, clubby kind of collared shirt, but I don't mind this new outfit. It's just very sleek. I thought I could have distinctly remembered talking about this. I also just like the refreshing white pants against the black heeled boots. You know, a character like him is gonna rock some heeled boots, as well as just the kind of blue detail in the black top. Very nice, very sleek, very up my alley. I love the androgyny that King is serving with this look. I thought it closely resembled Mature and Vice's, just with more of like that boss kind of head honcho twist to it, which I feel like really comes through in the solid typical suit style. But I love the cropped vest a lot, obviously, and what seems like a gold belt. So like I always say, some gold hardware or accessories just to elevate the look further. And even though I'm kind of hit or miss with fingerless gloves, I think they work very well here, especially given that there isn't a lot of black outside of the bow tie. So it definitely gives it some pop against the brighter colors. And Kukri is a bit on the contrary to Najd, where I mentioned in her outfit where the collar or the cloak kind of feels a little more open. This feels typical closed off, mysterious assassin type kind of cloaked look. I do like a bit of the kind of peekaboo in the chest and just the texture that we get with the stitching down the torso. And the cloak in general is pretty cool. I like the texture, rustic texture that it has and how that coordinates really well with the boots. and I'm digging a bit of the red lining of the cloak. It just kind of pops and kind of jumps at you if you look close enough at the outfit, which just gives a little more intrigue and dimension. I love Omega Rugels, and for how simple it is, for some reason to me, it just like knocks me out. And what really knocks me out is the suspender elements. I don't know what is about the suspender elements in this franchise and these outfits that's really tickling me. Like Guilty Gear had a lot of belts, and they also had a lot of suspenders, but King of Fighters has a lot of practical, pretty clean, polished, sleek silhouettes, but it's those little suspenders that add a nice little extra touch of accessory and dimension. And I really love how that top has some mesh. This also feels JoJo, almost something that Jean-Pierre would wear, but this is kind of almost a variety or variation that I wanted him to wear. Whoa, I cannot believe I made it through that review. It was a lot, but so many great looks that only speaks to how powerful and profound the character roster and selection is within the King of Fighters series. Did you agree with my assessments? Do we like the basic attack super move KO rating? Because I'll probably carry that to other fighting game series that I cover as well. Moving on to some more great stuff. Right now, I can't think of what that is, but it's gonna be great. So until the next video, I'll talk to you later.